Member for Johnston.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Acting Speaker. I thank my our fellow MLA for Moorca for bringing this important motion to the House and for his steadfast, generous, gracious and wise leadership on this issue and in this chamber over the past 8 years. I'm new to this chamber, but I'm not new to the issues this motion addresses. I come from almost 3 decades of working with justice and conflict across the Northern Territory. I've been incredibly privileged to learn from and work alongside on-country peacemakers and to see the work described by both the member for Moorca, the member for Gordja and the member for Daly. I've been lucky enough to study alongside Yolngu leaders to learn about Yolngu Rom, law and peacemaking. I've worked alongside the Ponki peacemakers in the Tiwi Islands, the Watja group in Nooka, the Southern Kurdiji mediators in Yuendamu, the Kurdiji mediators in Lajamanu, the Ali Kurang mediators in Wade, the Groote Island peacemakers, the Malrom Project, and many more. Across the Northern Territory, we have incredible peacemakers on country doing this work. I also pay tribute to all the incredible work done by men and women, often very old men and women, peacemakers who work tirelessly every day and every night on the ground. I've seen this work supported by organisations as well across the Territory, including NAJA, Legal Aid, NAFLS, ARS, the Community Justice Centre and many other on-the-ground services. I've seen this across the Northern Territory in Yolngu country, in the desert, in the Tiwi Islands, in Wade. I've seen Aboriginal-led peacemaking do exactly what the Aboriginal Justice Agreement is committed to and is set up to do. But we need to make sure that the AJA gets the support that was committed to it. I welcome the development of the Aboriginal Justice Agreement and the Action Plan. I remember the signing of it, the agreement with bipartisan support with the then leader of the CLP and now Chief Minister and the then Shadow Attorney General, now Minister for Aboriginal Affairs, co-signing the document at Parliament House in 2022. And I remember at that time there was a lot of celebration of that bipartisan support, providing certainty for the agreement for the next 7 years and to enable the Aboriginal Justice Unit to implement their commitments. And I thank the member for Moorca for giving us the opportunity to reflect on this in this chamber and recommit to the goals of the Aboriginal Justice Agreement. I haven't yet heard from the government the question from the member for Moorca, and I echo that question, that will the government recommit and affirm their commitment to the Aboriginal Justice Agreement? What I have heard though, and what we've all witnessed since August 2024, is a government introducing law after law that disproportionately criminalises Aboriginal people. Laws that criminalise public drinking while making cheap alcohol more accessible, that remove judicial discretion for sentencing, that lower the age of criminal responsibility to children of 10, that reintroduce truancy offers as a punitive approach to children engaging in education. The list goes on. The goals of the Aboriginal Justice Agreement are clear and we've heard them from other members today, but just to repeat them, to reduce offending and imprisonment of Aboriginal Territorians, to engage and support Aboriginal leadership and to improve justice responses and services for Aboriginal Territorians. But the reality is that this government has chosen to double down on policies that criminalise Aboriginal people rather than support them. They've prioritised punitive measures over prevention, fines over reconciliation and incarceration over community solutions. We've already heard the shameful statistics in this chamber today. Aboriginal people make up around 30% of the Northern Territory's population, yet they represent over 90% of the adult prison population and often 100% of the youth prison population. This isn't an injustice, it's a crisis. Last week, the Productivity Commission released a damning report on Indigenous disadvantage, showing that life expectancy for First Nations women in the Northern Territory has gone backwards, that targets around employment are worsening, as are indicators for birth weight, early childhood education, child development, youth engagement, employment, adult incarceration and youth detention. And what has this government done to address these appalling statistics? Instead of addressing root causes, which I'm interested in hearing from the government how you would define root causes, but here I'll talk about them: poverty, trauma, lack of opportunity. As I said, the government's introduced more fines, more enforcement and more incarceration. And let's not forget the horrific reality of children in detention. The Northern Territory has been internationally condemned for reintroducing laws that will lock up children as young as 10 years old. Is this the future that this government envisions? Is this the future that we want in the Northern Territory? This government's approach is carceral, it is punitive, and it's wrong. The Aboriginal Justice Agreement acknowledges that justice must be about prevention, rehabilitation and community engagement, not about punishment. And as I've talked about, there are many proven models across the whole Northern Territory that work. We heard about the Groote Eylandt Peacemakers Program as one example, a community-led initiative that focuses on restorative justice, bringing victims and offenders together, fostering understanding, healing and real accountability. Programs like this show great success in reducing reoffending, in improving community safety, in being victim-centred and in keeping people out of prison. They engage and support Aboriginal leadership. We can also look at community justice reinvestment programs that have been successful elsewhere in Australia. Programs that take money that would otherwise be spent on locking people up and invest it directly into community-led solutions. This government should support these kinds of programs. It should engage Aboriginal leaders meaningfully in justice policy making rather than treating them as afterthoughts. It should expand community-led solutions like those I've talked about, including the Groote Eylandt Peacemakers. This government claims to be committed to reducing offending and imprisonment. They claim to support Aboriginal leadership. They claim to be addressing the root causes of crime. They claim to want better justice services. But as I've said, policies that criminalise Aboriginal people, whether through fines for truancy, harsh public drinking laws or locking up children, reveal the truth. And if the government's truly serious about justice reform, it'll move beyond these policies and invest in community-led programs. The latest findings from the Productivity Commission make it clear that the gap is widening, that life expectancy for Aboriginal people is declining, that youth engagement is falling, that employment and child development targets are worsening, and that adult incarceration and youth detention rates continue to climb. And if the government continues down this punitive path, these statistics will only get worse. In the words of Catherine Liddle, the Chief Executive of SNAKE, the National Voice of Our Children, in relation to that Productivity Commission report, she says this should be a wake-up call to all governments. We need a renewed commitment to the Closing the Gap agreement, and we need it now. The findings from the Productivity Commission show just how much work is left to do, and without substantial change, many Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander children will be left behind. It's clear the business as usual approach is not hitting the mark, and the need for community-led early intervention programs and family support services are not being met. And I heard the Attorney General say that we cannot keep doing business as usual. I think we all agree. If we continue down this path, as Catherine Liddle goes on to say, we will fail in our shared responsibility to protect and care for these children and to give them the opportunity to succeed. The Productivity Commission's Closing the Gap report emphasises that Aboriginal-led solutions are the key to progress. Just like the Aboriginal Justice Agreement, it reminds us that we must listen to Aboriginal voices, to Aboriginal leaders, including those here in this chamber. We have been issued a clear invitation many times from the member for Mooka to come to Yolngu country, to listen, learn and work together to fix the problems we are all facing. And there are Aboriginal leaders across the whole Northern Territory who have also extended that invitation. This is how we will make meaningful change and build real justice in the Northern Territory, and this is what the government agreed to do when it committed to the Aboriginal Justice Agreement. By recommitting to the Aboriginal Justice Agreement's objectives, this Assembly has the opportunity to do something more than celebrating locking up 500 more people or fining parents. We have the opportunity to reverse the cycle of incarceration, to build a justice system and a community that is fair, effective and safe for everybody. I commend the motion to the House and I urge all members to support it both in words and in action. Thank you, Acting Madam Deputy Speaker.